This is a preview from our Patreon, the Cinemile High Club, where we review retro movies and the biggest new TV series for less than the cost of a cup of coffee a month. Enjoy!
Canada-Russia final showcasing the two most talked about prospects in the world. Canada's Shane Hollander.
Shane Hollander, I wanted to introduce myself.
Okay.
And Russia's Ilya Rozanov.
You're an awesome player to watch.
Hello, patrons.
Hello.
Hello, Kathy.
Hi, Dave.
We are here to talk about Heated Rivalry weeks after it
No one's heard of this show.
became the biggest thing of 2026, I guess. So we're going to get into full spoilers for season 1 of this, I think, safe to say, global cultural phenomenon. But before we do, maybe just sort of quick sort of. I don't think this even requires an overview, but
I mean,
just in case
people will have heard of it. What I'll say is, if you're a long-time listener of the show and you trust our opinion on TV, and for whatever reason you've not really been bothered about Heated Rivalry, we both think it's a phenomenal show and it's a wonderful 6-episode arc. So both highly recommend it.
I think I should elaborate on how I got to this point, though, because the last time we spoke about this show was in our We've Been Watching episode in January.
And we'd watched the first episode at that point.
We watched the first episode and I publicly checked out, which many of you messaged me about to say bad move,
Like, basically,
bad move, Dave.
you said, I enjoyed it, but I'm not bothered by it.
I did. I thought the show was very good. My reasons to reiterate for checking out were I was under the misconception that this was, like many shows, 10 plus episodes. I felt like because it was a phenomenon and it was based on a book series, this is going to go on for seasons, which I think it will.
It will, yeah.
But
this is a totally self-sufficient series. Like, this could have ended.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But my position after having watched the first episode was, this Will Day or Won't They is going to drag on for seasons and seasons, and they're never going to get together. And I, like Kathy said, I was wrong. This season is a complete, whether or not this even got commissioned, which obviously it will for more. This tells a complete story, a very satisfying story. I'm very glad I stuck with it. I still have some criticisms around the how effectively they portrayed the sports side of the thing.
Dave, no one gives a shit
the
about
rivalry
the
bit, but it turns out nobody cares except me.
And they
but
were
that's
never
fine.
trying to portray it. So before we get into the show, so we're going to get into spoilers, right? So I really recommend you go off and watch it if you haven't already.
Absolutely. This is honestly,
it's in my top 5 of the year. I know it is.
It could be for me too. I think it. Well, right now it is
Well, right now it's my number 1.
Right.
We haven't. The
We
only
haven't
other
seen
thing
much.
we've watched is Beast.
the beauty. You mean?
Sorry, The Beauty,
Which is dreadful.
Dreadful.
This is a honestly it is a surprisingly moving and beautiful love story, and I thought incredibly well portrayed by these two actors.
And also, it's good fun. Like, I had good fun with it, you know. But before we get into the show itself, it is interesting to kind of reflect on why it was made, right? So there's a novel series by Rachel Reed called Game Changers, and she's written a ton of them. The second one is called Heated Rivalry, which they chose is obviously a much better name for a show than Game Changers.
Yeah.
So she drew a lot of real life inspiration, including, of course, I knew nothing about hockey before this, but like the captain of the women's hockey team in America and the captain of the women's hockey team in Canada were like basically in love with each other. And when they both retired from professional hockey, like got married, and it's totally adorable, 2 women.
Was her novel series based on that?
It's not based on that, but it was like an inspiration for her.
It's an inspiration, I see.
And also, hockey, like love stories, is like a total subgenre. So I think we've talked about this a little bit before. No, maybe we talked about it on our live show, which we will be publishing soon. Like the biggest.
And thank you again to all of you who attended.
Yeah, who
it was
attended.
lovely to meet
we
you
love
all.
meeting you so much. We had such a laugh. But like romance books are like keeping the publishing industry afloat, and women are spending so much money on romance books.
Yeah,
and
particularly romanticy.
Romanticy, but turns out hockey romance is a subgenre, and there's different types. Like, you know, some are a bit more explicit, some are less. And in 2023, Jacob Tierney, who made the show, he reached out to the author a day after the Washington Post had run an article about hockey romance. He listened to Game Changers on audiobook and he was like, can I make a show? she had doubts because she was like, I don't know if it can be adapted while retaining the book's sexually explicit content, because that's like an important part of the book. Tierney said the thing that is so fundamentally different in Heated Rivalry is sex. And I was like, okay, will anyone want this with that? And the thing that was very obvious to me that they were
That's what everyone
yeah,
wanted.
they were inseparable. Sex is character development. It's not just a random sex scene in every episode.
Yes.
And that's what's so interesting.
And we'll
Like,
get into that because
yeah.
I was saying this to you when we were watching it. The
Yeah.
sex isn't just gratuitous, because the way that these two guys have sex evolves over
Yeah.
the course of these 6 episodes, and the way and when the show chooses to show you sex, I think, is important.
It's really important, yeah. And also it's like everyone talked about like how explicit it is, but like at the end of the day all you see are butts. Like you're not seeing, sorry, that's I've pulled up something else to read there and there was music on it. You're not seeing, like, you know, it's not like full frontal nudity. Like people can calm down.
Yeah,
a
zero
little bit.
dongs.
Yeah.
In an era where we are in the dong era of
Like
film
I'm
and
sick
TV.
of seeing prosthetic penises.
We had
do you know what I mean?
28 years with zombie dongs, and 28
Yeah,
years
we
later,
had,
Game of Thrones dongs in the what's it called, A Tale of Seven Dongs.
We had it in Totally Unexpected and Unwanted in the Chair Company. We had it
That's
in
right.
Pillion.
Apparently Nosferatu had a big old vampire dong.
But can
Still
I tell
haven't
you,
seen it.
Can I tell you something else really cool about the adaptation of this? So the author, he wrote the books. Her name is Rachel Reed. She's actually been dealing with Parkinson's, and she
dear.
was on this huge wait list and in Canada, and then the show blew up in North America. And then something strange happened during a CNN interview. The director casually mentioned Rachel's Parkinson's. The next day, one of the world's top Parkinson's experts emailed her directly. He'd seen the interview, he wanted to help, and now she's gotten like this one of the best Parkinson's specialists in the world, and he's helping her with like her medication and her treatment and everything.
Okay, well, look,
That's amazing.
That's amazing. That's a
Yeah,
lovely story. But
I
I
love
mean,
that.
it just goes to show that like
That the healthcare system's fucked.
No, it's really encouraging that the way to get health treatment
You know, yeah.
in North America
And there's been a ton
is
of
to become famous
and people
say
can
you're
Google
sick
this.
on TV.
Yeah, I don't have this to hand, but like there's been like someone in hockey has come out since the show came out. In Russia, where like LGBTQ content is banned, there's been this huge surge in everyone watching it. It's like this absolute hit. Like in Russia, people are like
I love
siphoning
that.
it into the country, embracing it. They all love Ilya as like a Russian queer character.
See, that's
So cool.
where this kind of show can have such an immense cultural footprint. And even here in Ireland, I shared if you scroll back, I shared a post or an article that was written in the Irish Examiner by a former GAA player, which is the Gaelic Athletics Association that runs hurling and Gaelic football in Ireland, two of the biggest sports here, who said that the show, he is gay, and the show was bang on and nailed his own personal experiences in the locker room, where you feel that you can't be yourself and you're performing the whole time. It must be exhausting.
I cannot imagine that testosterone fueled environment where like roughly statistically like at least 10% of people will be gay, but they're all hang around and like pretend to be homophobic.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not gay, but I had to. I found it exhausting to be around the alpha male testosterone lads at school. Like there's
I don't
it's
know how you
like
did it.
like because that's not me
Dave
either.
went to like a rugby school.
Yeah, it's tedious.
Yeah.
And so to have to be in that crew and like hide yourself and also purport to like present a facade where you're mocking the thing the very thing that you are. That's
even if you're
it's
probably not
messed
joining
up.
in, but you're probably laughing along or something.
Well,
But anyway,
you have to pretend. It's messed up.
to take it back to the show though, the
Yes.
reason it's had such a cultural phenomenon, the reason it's been such a cultural phenomenon is because it's a brilliant show. And it's so funny because it's almost like initially all the promotions and everything we saw about it was like about the sex, and the sex is, I think, one of the many reasons that people watched it. Like that's what drew people in, because I was like, ooh, I want to watch Heated Rivalry. That's what drew me in. I wouldn't have been particularly bothered about a hockey romance if I'm honest, but the sex did draw me in as well. And like it's so fun in the first 2 episodes. Like in fairness, like I know we're saying like it's not like that explicit, but it's just you don't ever see such kind of a focus on sex in TV usually, and like just a focus on them. And I think this show is an example of where, because they had a really low budget, it actually and they had a fantastic creative team, it allowed them to like entirely focus on what mattered in the story, which is the love and the development and like the sex and the relationships and the tensions. And like when they'll do a hockey game, they'll literally, like, sometimes they'll just show us before and after in the locker room, and then we'll hear the score. Or sometimes we'll just see the two lads, because the actors have said, like, they can't, like, well, Ilya, the guy who plays Ilya, anyway, I saw him talking about, like, he can't skate, like, he's not going to be, like,
Big limitation there,
like,
isn't it?
That's not a sport. You know, I could go out in a pitch and pretend that I'm good at soccer for like 2 minutes, but like, you can't pretend that you can play ice hockey for 2 minutes.
I can imagine it's a very hard sport to film.
And we never, and it's funny you're saying your issue about the sport, but like, all the commentary I've seen from people is like, it's actually funny that we can come away and know nothing about the sport, and we watch the whole, because the sport's just the background. It's got nothing to do with the show.
I want to dig into that for just a moment, because I am going to incessantly praise the show after this point. But I get that's not what the show is trying to do. It's not what it's about, and it's in the background relatively. However, it's just unfortunate that the show is positioning as part of its core premise the idea is that these two men are having a secret romance, but they're also intense public rivals, and that's the part of the show that I think failed. Never did I feel the rivalry. It was always tell, don't show publicly. They're always like, and are we in full spoilers now?
We're in full spoilers.
We're going to say full spoilers now. So right up until the end.
So full spoilers. So just pause there, turn it off, go off and watch it.
Go watch it. It's honestly, it's brilliant. I was bawling by the end. It's really beautiful. But right up until the end, with the parents finding out, and everyone's always saying, but you two hate each other. You hate each other so much because the media, I suppose, have pitted themselves against each other. The show never did enough to establish that. Besides, I guess they had one interview where they were throwing jibes at each other or something. But it was like, you cannot. The reason it doesn't work is because I don't know the stakes. I don't know what tournament they're playing in. I rarely knew what teams they were playing in, what the stakes were, what was going on in the hockey pitch, so you can't. The show didn't, and I understand they didn't have the budget to, and it's clear it was pushing up against its budget to show the games. So we got a lot of like pre-locker room, post-locker room. So
they really milked that locker room set.
But you can still do that by establishing the where we are better. My head was spinning, particularly for the first few episodes.
I mean, in the Olympics episode,
time
it was
jumps,
like
and where are we now? And you lost, and you're sad. I don't know. Are you?
They were confused. The time jumps at the beginning were confusing, and then they're like in the Olympics, and they're not in the Olympics. Like, that stuff was passing in the blink of an eye. And I agree. I got very hung up in the early episodes of like, I'm a bit confused by the timeline, a bit confused by the tournament. And then by the end, I just entirely let that wash over me, because I was like, I'm getting hung up on it, and like, I'll get no resolution on it.
Agreed. And I did the same, because when the show slows down and lasers in on the moments where the two of them are together, plus episode 3, the bottle episode, which is great in itself. Yeah, that's a perfect little episode. But when the show so that's fine. That episode 3 is perfect because it's telling a little complete story. And on the other 5 episodes, we do get a complete story over 10 years. Charting these two from their initial passion to the later falling in love. But everything in and around that for me was just a disaster, because it was just now and then the commentator would come on and it's like, as we all know, the Olympics are coming up, and it's like June 2026, June 2017, and now it's fall 2018. There was no consistency in the title cards.
Yeah, they've been taking the piss out of that. Like, even I saw one of them was on a talk show, and the talk show kept putting title cards up between every scene. Like, it was funny. Like, people are taking the piss out of the title
Well, good, because it's a mess that the show, I think, had to struggled to handle, because it had a 10-year time span, only 6 episodes.
Yeah.
But that's enough of that. Let's talk about the good stuff, because when the show slows down and you're with the two guys, it is honestly, it's a beautiful. They very economical over these 6 episodes. How they charted their initial, and this is where the sex, I think, is important. It's not just Game of Thrones gratuity. It is, the sex is telling the story of their relationship, right from that initial sort of passion to, I thought one of the most heartbreaking moments was the set in episode 2, where they kind of have this hookup, but there's this bit of shame involved, and the sort of the intimacy has left for whatever reason. Ilya as being very distant and commanding, and what's the other character's name? Help me out.
Shane.
Shane.
Yeah.
And Shane gets into the elevator and he does this. I love texting in movies and TV shows is very effective at showing a character's inner process.
Well, it can be effective. In this show it is. It can be terrible.
Can
as
be
well.
when you see somebody writing and then deleting messages.
Yeah,
Something
Shane-
we all do.
yeah.
But it shows you what you want to say but
Yeah.
can't. And he says we didn't even kiss. And that's
Yeah.
the bit. I thought that moment where he texts that really I found quite moving.
Because
and
they
effective.
had a lovely kiss in episode 1. So you're seeing the kind of change. In episode 2 is the one where they like actually finally have sex kind of 2 years later. And where I think the show is so interesting is we're in episode 2 and we're still like, yeah, we like the show, it's good. And this show takes such a swing because episode 3 is about a completely different character, Scott,
Two
who
characters,
steps into a smoothie shop and orders a smoothie from Kip. And it's this episode that we're just following their relationship in, and Scott's like rampantly internalized homophobia and fear of coming out, and the episode ends on them breaking up, and Scott declines to go to like, you know, his birthday party, and then Scott's just like standing outside the pub like watching in on Kip's birthday party. And it's so sad. And also we were like, I think that's really audacious. Like I'm sure it's coming from the source material, but like to presume that us, the audience, in episode 3 will just follow a completely different story and that won't derail us coming back for episode 4.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. What was I think it is audacious. It reminded me of the first season of the Last of Us, which did exactly the same thing. In episode 3, gave you a gay love story out of
Frank
nowhere. Yeah,
and what was his
I
name?
can't
Yeah, that was
remember.
so wonderful. Yeah,
but very very similar. And I think what it did leave us thinking, right? How's this good? Like you I think we trusted the show that they're going to pay this off later
because it was
in
a
some
wonderful
way.
episode.
And my God, the payoff
was
in episode 5.
unbelievable.
That's one of the best like moments of like stand up and punch your fist in the air. Like that was proper romantic,
beautiful
rom-com third act,
Yeah.
big gesture moments. Honestly, it was excellent
we get onto
payoff.
those
And you got to
episodes,
do
though-
the work before you get to that.
Before we get onto those episodes, right? Let's pause at episode 3 because
Okay.
it's like the turning point of the show, I think. Because episodes 4, 5, and 6 then were just unbelievable TV. But we
Yes.
haven't talked about the actors yet, right? So we've got Hudson Williams playing Shane Hollander, and we've got Connor Story playing Ilya Rozanov. So Shane Hollander is Canadian. He's Asian. And it's been referenced outside of the show. We didn't know this when we were watching the show that has autism.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Ilya, who's like this, and Shane is like quite shy and reserved and like
And boring.
and
Let's be honest.
dull. Yeah,
He's a dull character,
He's
which Ilya makes fun of him regularly with.
Ilya's like a ball of light,
Yeah.
of energy. We thought he was Russian, and Connor Story is American, and I've watched interviews with him where he said he's like learned it all phonetically for the show. He also I saw clips of him in a French movie before speaking what sounded to me flawless French, and I can actually speak a bit of French. I can't speak any Russian. He said that when he was filming the Russian scenes, there was Russian extras, and they all thought that he was like an American, but whose parents were Russian.
Wow. Well,
his Russian was
that's
that
what
good.
that's what you thought. You
Yeah.
kept saying no. He's got to have some Russian
They have
family.
some Russian
But
family.
apparently, none. He just like.
He learned 25 pages of Russian dialogue for this show.
I mean,
He's in
that's very.
full Russian.
That's very
scenes.
impressive.
They are both, goes without saying, gorgeous, right? They both play their characters so well, and then they're so good together. Like the scenes that they're in together, they're just like, I don't know if the show would have been half as good if one of them hadn't been in it, because their connection with each other is so like physical and emotional and like palpable, and like it is so funny that like Shane's boring, and I know this will be how it's written, and when Ilya's like, you're so boring, but like it comes across as like in a way that a couple would like really be joshing each other. Like it could have come across like a bit hateful. They're unbelievable performances, and I'm so pleased for the two of them. Like they're both complete unknowns, this show was only shot like a year ago or something. They've been catapulted into the spotlight. They're like the two most famous guys in the world right now. They held the torch for the Winter Olympics. Your man, I think Hudson Williams actually might be Canadian. He's been like going off in Canada. Connor Story's hosting SNL this week. Actually,
Fair play.
tomorrow. Yeah. I'm just really happy. You know, it's just so nice. Like, it's so great to see two actors
Well,
be
and
brilliant.
deserved success, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Like, amazing. And one of the funny things that came out of it is like, so Connor Story used to make like a YouTube when he was younger. So you can watch his old YouTube videos and he's absolutely like unreal even as a kid. He's like, hey, I'm Connor Story and this is my YouTube. And then Hudson Williams like had this, for example, like, it's unfortunate people just dig up everything they can find about you when you explode into fame. He had this letterbox and I saw some screenshots. He's deleted it now. So people pulled up his letterbox reviews, and he's obviously like a theater kind of acting skill kid, so he thought very deeply about performances. And like, for example, one of his reviews was like of like the prequel for Hunger Games, which I never watched, but he like wrote this
Catching
really
Fire,
detailed.
that one was
He
it?
wrote a really detailed review, including how bad one of the actors was.
Oh no! Ouch!
So he was just writing as a normal person, but now he's written all these really
Yeah.
intense reviews, like slating films and stuff. So he's had to delete the whole thing because obviously, if you end up getting like, as an actor, you can't really be a film critic.
But by the way, everyone listening, all our patrons, you should download the MP3 files of all our episodes, because when we become famous, we're scrubbing
Are we?
all this.
Surely
Oh yeah,
we'd
when
leave
I
them-
become a famous actor, I'm scrubbing everything I've ever
But
said
surely we'd leave
about
them.
all my new work colleagues.
But surely we'd leave them behind the paywall on like Patreon. No. Anyway, I'm so happy for them. They're brilliant, and I do want to touch on one more thing before we get back into episode 4. That's been a real phenomenon about this. Is particularly how like obviously the gay community's embraced it, but how the like women have embraced it across the spectrum. Like gay and straight women love this show so much, and I've been reading a ton of like think pieces and analysis about it and thinking about it myself as well. And one of the things is that like the traditional kind of hierarchies or concerns around gender are gone, right? Where you're looking for sexism, you're looking for aggression, you're looking for like imbalances. That's completely not in question here because we've got two men, both at the top of their career. So the kind of status stuff is missing. The psychological safety is there when you're watching it because they're both like at all times like very consensual. Whereas like you'll often watch like romantic things where there's nearly like someone, we talked about this in our live show again, which we again will be publishing, but like often in rom-coms there was always a sense of someone being tricked, like a woman who was being kind of hoodwinked into falling for the guy, or alternatively like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, she's hoodwinking him. So none of that's here either, and I do think both of them being at the top of the game professionally adds to it. It's not just that they're both men, but I think the response to it from women is so interesting that like women would rather watch a gay love story. Like women, we want to watch straight love stories as well, but like they're so often not done well.
Yeah.
Like this is
Well,
that's like, interesting, and also it's working for straight men too. Like all the straight men online talking about how much they love this show is just working for everyone.
But I think I think all those are interesting points. But I think one reason, fundamental reason, this show is working is because it's just a very effectively portrayed romance.
Mm-hmm.
It is love and romance, honestly and authentically portrayed in the shadows, and I think that's an interesting one.
That's fun as well, like that it's secretive.
Yeah, but honestly, to get in, do you want to get into the final episodes, because I think the trajectory
So good.
on these final episodes.
To hear the end of this episode and hundreds of others where we review retro movies and all of the biggest TV shows, come over to our Patreon, where we even have a free 7-day trial. Patreon.com/thecinemile.